Hello everyone, my name is Matthias. I'm the program lead for the Startup Creasphere, and together with my colleague Ravi Chana, who is going to introduce himself in a second, we want to share a few thoughts and also use cases with you today about how Roche and how we are kind of engaging with earlier stage companies and innovators, particularly in the digital space. Quickly handing over to Ravi for a brief introduction also from his side.
Hi everyone, so I'm Ravi Chana. I'm Head of Business Development for Roche Diagnostics, UK and Ireland, and working closely with Matthias and colleagues in our global functions to really engage with startups and also innovators, both in diagnostic space and also digital space. And I suppose today is very much focusing on the digital side of things. So hopefully you'll get a good flavor of the initiatives that we've got within Roche and the engagement we have with startups and innovators in the digital space. So back to you, Matthias.
Thanks, Ravi. Yeah, before diving into some of the concrete initiatives, I wanted to pull up one slide you're probably all aware of. The kind of exponential growth, I think, is particularly relevant in the context of digital due to the vast amount of data we are collecting, the rapid development we are seeing in technology here, and yeah, wanted to start with that because I think we always have to keep this in mind, because we typically tend to think linear. We are trying to make healthcare 5% more efficient, but with digital, I think we really have a technology that is adopted in even faster now with COVID-19. That really has a potential to disrupt healthcare in a dramatic and a good way. Yeah, I think, as mentioned, these digital solutions we are seeing, they are really questioning and challenging some of the conventions we are seeing in healthcare and in clinical routine at the moment. And you can see this picture in the back. It's actually the Fosbury flop. It was the first person who was jumping over the bar at high jump backwards, because before that everybody was used to jumping over it just heads on, and everybody was thinking, are you crazy with turning around and flipping basically? But this is the kind of change, I think, the kind of disruption we are really seeing at the moment, and we are in the midst of that change. And we as Roche, we really want to tap into that space, and we really want to drive the development, because we really see that this is actually what patients need next in the development. And to do so, I think we really want to look into this earlier stage companies, the digital startups, and for today also to share a few thoughts on the engagement models we are applying. And this is something we were doing in addition to the existing kind of research and development that Roche is also very strong in. And we've also seen key M&A activities with Foundation Medicine, Flatiron, also in digital. But for some of the early developments, I think startups are a good source and a good have a great potential for innovation. And to do so, we also thought we need to approach that in a bit different way. We need to approach it on the one hand earlier, but also in a different kind of engagement model, so to say, with a different mindset, not maybe driven by let's say a desk research, due diligence processes, really to in the early phase learn and also jointly shape these new solutions to make them fit to healthcare. And what also was kind of clear from the beginning is that many of these technologies we see out there are actually relevant for both divisions, pharma and dia. That's why we were tackling that as a one Roche approach. And beyond that, it was also clear to us that due to some of the significant changes these solutions will require, that we need to address that, or we need to develop them together with further partners in the ecosystem, being it providers, being it payers, but also engaging the patient in a much more active role. And that's why we've basically come up over the last couple of years with 3 different kinds of engagement models to really collaborate with earlier stage companies in a different way. And maybe in doing it stepwise, we've now recently just launched an initiative in the incubator space to really foster early innovation, to support it over a longer period of time, provide mentorship, provide also funding to do so with the Starfinder Lab. Ravi will dive into that a bit deeper later on. We also have initiatives in the space of company builders, really to support the development of inventions in early innovation and manage the transition into a business, so to say. And with the accelerator Startup Creasphere, we are now almost 3 years engaged in a variety of companies to accelerate their development and to support the market access. And I think this is exactly kind of these different phases we want to shape healthcare in and want to support the adoption of digital solutions. I will now dive a bit deeper into the accelerator concept, also with Startup Creasphere and a specific use case. And afterwards, Ravi will share a few more thoughts on the Starfinder Lab. So for Startup Creasphere, this is kind of a classical accelerator concept with a few additional aspects to be considered. But overall, we are twice a year selecting and scouting companies very specifically in strategic areas of Roche. We are trying to find the best startups globally to then bring them in the program and to jointly co-develop their solutions. In the accelerator phase, we are basically working on 2 layers. There is this piloting co-creation layer, and then there is also this open innovation layer where we are trying to pull in external coaches, mentors, also VCs to support the development. Plug and Play, you can see on the bottom, is a strong partner in doing so. We've teamed up with them quite some time ago, and they are facilitating and supporting us along that journey. We are doing that to have this kind of speed dating and early proof of concept phase in the acceleration, so to say, to move on and to have a starting point for a collaboration, a long-lasting collaboration. And these follow-ups can be quite diverse, as we are also looking into a quite diverse set of solutions. This can range for earlier stage solutions. It can be a joint development, a co-development, to really do the last steps together. But it can also be a co-marketing to distribute and support the market access of that solution on a global scale. And as you can imagine, I think the overall approach is quite flexible. That's why we are also looking into a broad variety of different focus areas, being it patient facing or physician facing solutions like clinical decision support, digital biomarkers that might be used in clinical trials for our pharma colleagues, or in clinical use on the diagnostic side, to more holistic approaches like disease management in cardiac, where I also want to share a few use cases later on. But we are also, besides these kind of patient and physician-facing solutions, we are also looking into, let's say, rather internal value chain solutions, being it advanced data analytics or also kind of the lab of the future. So how are researchers, how are commercial labs operating and working in the future? I think this is all topics that are highly relevant and that we have been addressing for the last couple of years. As mentioned, I think we are looking for the best companies globally, and that's why also the Createsphere approach and the ecosystem has expanded recently quite nicely. On the one hand, now starting in Munich, then expanding also into Silicon Valley, and just recently more and more engagement in Singapore to really tap into the key innovation ecosystems in the key regions, let's say. We are doing that alongside our partner Plug and Play, who has a quite significant global presence, and together we are really tapping into these very specific local markets like Southeast Asia or also North America. Overall, I think it is key that many of these solutions to really become successful require a support from multiple parties. And that's why we've early on tried to build it in an open innovation approach. And we're very happy that in the meantime, quite a few significant partners joined our program and our platform, being it the consumer health business of Sanofi, being it Lonza as a key manufacturing partner, as well as further ecosystem partners, being it providers like the Sana clinics or the biggest hospital in northern Germany, in Schleswig-Holstein, but also technology companies like Microsoft or NGOs like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to really think of these solutions in a holistic way and to drive their adoption. Now, having that said, we are now going that journey for like 2.5 years. I think we've seen many companies. We were very happy with the 31 earlier stage companies that we have onboarded, and even more so happy that we have managed really to integrate their solutions, their technology into being it internal projects, but also into new digital solutions that we are now developing and implementing with labs, with providers, to really co-create these solutions. And yeah, this kind of way of working also in this time box way has really created a strong commitment internally, and also good excitement of the colleagues all across the world. So now moving a bit from this kind of theoretical concept into a very specific use case, and maybe showcasing what I mean by co-creating or integrating solutions. Let me maybe share this example on cardiac disease management. So in this is, for example, applies for the atrial fibrillation. Here you really need a holistic view on the whole patient journey, being it the screening, being it the confirmation diagnosis, being it then the therapy guidance, and also monitoring, where we see a very nice combination of new digital solutions coming up and combining them with classical, for example, IVD biomarkers. So we've here teamed up with a company called FibriCheck, who has developed a smartphone-based, camera-based technology to actually monitor the heartbeat and to detect arrhythmia. This is kind of a low-cost technology that can be used everywhere to early on diagnose arrhythmias and potentially atrial fibrillation. This is then kind of followed up with a smart patch from Smart Cardia. This is kind of a medical device, but it also has a digital component, because it is collecting a vast amount of ECG data, but has an algorithm who's doing the readout of that algorithm in an automated way, really highlighting the key bits and pieces that were significant or relevant for a physician. And then also in the combination of biomarkers that might be used to think about the stroke and bleeding risk, but also in combination with solutions like FibriCheck to monitor later on in a home setting. I think this is a cohesive story now, and a cohesive solution thought end to end. Also together with Vita Health, a disease management platform, who is integrating that bits and pieces of data along that journey to really make it transparent and show the benefit of that. This is one example I wanted to show of companies that we have worked with in the past 2.5 years in different batches, and kind of onboarded and integrated into a holistic solution. We are at the moment piloting that in different countries, in different settings, in Europe, but also in Southeast Asia. And yeah, looking forward to seeing the outcome and the clinical evidence on that bit. With having that said, I'm now handing over to Ravi, because also in that space we are frequently seeing that there is kind of needs and clinical needs that cannot be addressed with existing solutions, and that's why we have taken the decision to even invest more in an earlier stage, in the incubation phase, to really make new ideas come true. Ravi?
Yep. Thank you, Matthias. As you will have heard from Matthias, I think there's been a lot of learns along the journey with Startup Creasphere, and we've taken those learnings and really looked at how we can engage with innovators and startups very much from a healthcare needs perspective. And so we've now set up this new initiative called Starfinder Lab. This is a partnership between Roche Diagnostics Global and AMOON, and AMOON is probably one of the largest life sciences VCs based out of Israel. And I suppose the other question that would be asked is, well, why Israel? Well, we know that Israel has a really rich ecosystem around digital and healthcare digital solutions that are being developed, and the healthcare system there as well has rich data sets which enable the development of technologies. So the whole Starfinder Lab initiative is centered around startups and innovators coming out of Israel. And what we want to really do is focus on this early stage innovation, as I mentioned, coming in from really the healthcare system needs, and address those needs and get the technologies developed at that early stage. And as a company, I mean, traditionally, we would have normally engaged with companies very much at a later stage, but we recognized that we have a role to play in that early stage innovation space. And this initiative is really around focusing on that space. So get next slide, please, Matthias. So here, what we're really trying to do is get I suppose the expertise and the knowledge that we have within Roche and within AMOON, and work with data providers and also entrepreneurs within Israel, and harness the AI talents within the Israeli ecosystem to address these needs. And what we're going to do is, this is a 3-year program, and in mid-October we're going to be launching this formally with 3 specific themes around healthcare needs. Those we will be inviting Israeli companies, the innovators and startups, to apply and submit according to those themes. Once those selected startups have been chosen, we will then work with them starting in January 2021. As I mentioned, it's a 3-year program. So what we're going to have is cohorts of companies. So 3 companies addressing those 3 themes through the first year. And then we will look at other themes coming through in year 2 and year 3. And the idea is, by the end of year 3, we will have 9 startups and companies that have addressed those needs and have technologies which can be taken forward really from a commercialization perspective. And we see from a Roche perspective, because the whole space around innovators and entrepreneurs scaling up is a big, I suppose, area of need as well. We see our role as Roche actually helping those companies, very similar to what Matthias presented with Startup Creasphere as well. But what we want to do is link up some of these systems that we already have, not just within Roche, but within the whole life sciences ecosystem, to make sure that these startups, as they come through, can be accelerated through not just the early development phase, but evaluation phase, then also into the commercialization phase. So for us, I suppose the goal really is that if we can get those 9 startups up and running and getting the evaluations done fairly quickly, then we've got some good successful technologies that can be implemented into the healthcare space. So we get the next slide, please. So as Matthias already presented, where we see Starfinder Lab really sitting is that early idea, coming out of ideation into the incubator space. And what we would then hope to see is how we link Starfinder Lab to some of the other initiatives that we already have within Roche. But it doesn't just stop there, because what we want to do is engage with healthcare systems across globally, because Roche has a very big footprint globally. So what we want to try and do is accelerate these technologies into the healthcare systems by using, again, the internal mechanisms and support systems that we have, but also leveraging external support systems. So hand over back to you, Matthias.
Thanks, Ravi. I think, yeah, you mentioned the key points that I think these are examples of engagement models that we have created over the past years to really support the digital transformation to co-create new solutions. And yeah, happy to follow up with people who are interested in the approaches, who are interested maybe from a research perspective, maybe also from a startup perspective, to become part of these programs, to really co-create new solutions and to unlock the potential that digital has in healthcare. Looking forward to catch up, and yeah, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thank you.